We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you another episode of We Can Help with Dave and Woody, already in progress.
I think it's just a load of crap. That's all. Are we on? Oh, crap.
Yes, we are, aren't we?
I think so. Did you push yes?
I don't
Hey,
I don't remember. Hey, we're back.
you know what horses eat, right?
Hey,
Hey.
it's to our friends in the Netherlands. Was it
Oh,
Netherlands? Where
that's right.
was
That
that?
was hello, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Hi.
Hello in Swedish? No,
Where'd you go? Iceland?
Finnish. What's that?
Where did you go that trip? Iceland?
Yes, Iceland. But
That's
that
where
wasn't
that's
it was because we had a listener
from
in
Finland.
Finland. Yes. So we learned to say hey.
Hey. Okay, anyway. So
This was quite a pell-mell way to enter the show.
oh, Pell Mell. That's the okay, hold on. That's not the cigarettes, that's Pall Mall. You
Yes.
notice when I don't know what it is, I try to
You make it well what it sounds like. That used to be my way of taking every spelling exam. I go, well, that word sounds like it means, and that's why I
that sounds
basically
like the word truck. That's what it means. It's a large yeah, okay.
and that's why
Pell
I always
Mell. Pell
yeah.
Mell. That is not 16th century, I'll tell you that.
I don't have the origins of this one.
Sounds
The
French.
reason
Old English French.
it is French.
Yeah, Pell
I'm
Mell.
sure
Hold
it
on.
might be even pronounced a little different than it is. The
Pell
only reason I
Mell.
brought it up was I was reading an article in Popular Mechanics, believe it or not, and this word was used in the article as if it fit. Like, oh, everybody knows this word. And I'm like, I'm calling BS on this.
Okay,
Anything
wait a
but
minute. What part of speech is it? Is it a noun
it's
or
an
an adjective?
adverb I used it as an adjective, but it can also be a noun. But I used it as its adjective form.
Adjective
Yes.
to
So I
describe
said
something.
we entered the show in a pell-mell way.
I don't know.
So I was kind of like BS. Like, do you know who you're writing to here? Popular Mechanics. It's not a bunch of word savvy individuals from. I mean, the next article was about welding steel. So, put two and two
Yeah,
together.
don't knock the guy that welds. Those are artisans, Renaissance men.
Well, I bought a new welder recently. These like
Yeah,
they
welder.
were
Is yours arc?
I have all three: arc, TIG, and MIG.
You said TIG.
Yeah, I did.
Can you weld aluminum? No.
I can with this. However, it's better. I should buy an accessory for it where the spool is at the end of the gun at the because it's
I
takes
guess
a
the
lot of
question
heat.
is, can you weld aluminum and it looks good and holds
No,
up? I
I
mean,
can't weld anything and it looks good. So
oh,
that's kind of why I bought this.
you work under the premise the more slag, the better.
Right. Uh, and
It'll
I
hold
don't.
up if you put more
Yep.
on it.
I built my daughter a desk out of some steel. And like,
It's
I
about
want to
six
this.
thousand pounds. It used to have leg room underneath it,
Right.
but no
And I
more.
was like, yeah, if it fails, the worst is she gets a broken toe.
Look at the scrap value, honey. You could
Right.
trade it in.
It's not like
All
I
right, what
was,
is pell mell? Hurry up.
it is a recklessly hasty or disorganized is pell mell.
It figures the French would make something disastrous sounding into something. Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Pell
hasty,
mell.
pell mell. So not sure I
They
want to
they
use that
surrendered a
word.
lot too.
Yeah, but it just and then he used I should have wrote down the second word. I had just written down that one, and he used another big word. But that one I knew, and I was like, "Come on, this is ridiculous." Using that in this context. But anyhow, um, how do we get there from baseball?
I don't know. I was just thinking of that, but I think we still have a bone to pick a little bit on this. There's a little meat left on the bone from the baseball conversation.
Well, the fact so we're talking about in two aspects the Karen baseball thing. I don't even know what stadium it
Was it the
was.
Phillies?
It could, yeah, she was wearing a Phillies jersey, but I don't know if it was in Philly.
I
So
don't
it
know.
could have been
Hold on,
yeah, it
hold on,
had to be. It had to be because
hold
the
on,
lady,
hold on. Alexa, where
oh
did
God,
the recent Karen baseball event take place?
She's all
The
alone.
recent baseball incident involving Phillies Karen took place at Lone Depot Park in Miami, Florida.
Oh,
It
it was
occurred
in
during
Miami.
a Major League Baseball game between the Philadelphia
All right,
Phillies
all
and the
right.
Miami Marlins on September 5th,
Tell her to be quiet,
2025.
would you?
Would you like to know more about the Philadelphia Phillies team?
No.
No. She's going to keep
Okay.
talking now, I'm sure.
Okay. So September 5th. So it's still topical. We're in September, right?
Yeah, barely.
Barely.
So yeah, I mean, close enough. But it's not. It hasn't. God, I can't talk now. You got me all worked up over this subject.
Well,
So
let's set the table first of all. First of all, to be able to come out of this thing and have a name, Phillies Karen,
and Alexa knows it.
I mean, that's kind of, a star is born every moment, right? I mean, I don't know where the listeners fall into this.
There's the upside for Phillies Karen.
Hey, you know who I am? I'm Phillies Karen. I bet
I'm
she gets
famous.
tables at at Ruth's Chris on time.
Right.
She gets reservations.
No,
so we were talking.
Dave is arguing in behalf of Phillies Karen. And
let's package that right.
That's what I was trying to lead
yeah, I don't want to get hung. So the conversation came up, what about, we were talking, I tell you, let's back up. Hold on.
All right.
We were talking about people making comments on Facebook, and not to get, because part of this
concerning any major event.
Yeah.
Of horrific nature.
Right. And the tastelessness.
Right.
Some of it horrific. But the stupidity is what we're talking about. How stupid you would be to say something. It's freedom of speech.
In public, it is, but there are consequences for what you say.
That's a good way of saying it. There's no, you just can't blatantly say stuff and expect there not to be any consequence.
You can't go to jail for it.
Yeah, it could be blowback.
But I don't like getting fired. If you're on your personal Facebook account.
Yeah, but these individuals.
Well, not all of them.
But the one we were talking about, we can't.
Right, that was different. We can't talk about that one.
Because they have guidelines that say.
But yeah, right. Yeah. But people on their personal accounts that then lose their jobs, I find a little.
Well, that's the Rainbow Coalition at work. I go back to Jesse, what was his name? Jesse Jackson, the Rainbow Coalition. If you say something, we're going to launch, anyway, they're going to launch all these people against you. And then that happened with Twitter. We talked about that a little bit early on in Twitter. If you were conservative or who cares, if you were Republican or whatever, then you took the risk of saying something, and you just get with an onset of crazy people would try to bury you. Now the pendulum has swung the other way. I'm a little fearful for freedom of speech. The one guy that we talked about earlier.
Is.
Yeah, Thomas Jefferson said the thing about free speech is we need more of it.
Right.
And so I think I was in a race or a debate one time when I was running, and I said, the problem with free speech is we were talking about burning the flag. And it was interesting. We were on this panel, and there were 6 or 8 of us that were all running this race. And they asked
all the same party at this time, right?
Same
you
party,
were the primary, right?
We were or before the primary, and it was fun to watch because I was sitting at the very end of the podium, and I was like, "Please don't ask me first. I want to see what everyone else does." And so, from the far end of the podium all the way down, the question was, "Should you go to jail or be penalized for burning the flag?" And what each candidate did, they were much younger than me.
Right.
Is you could hear the room, in this particular audience we were in, they felt that you should go to jail.
Right.
And so it was almost like the candidates were licking their finger to see where the wind was blowing.
Right, as do most candidates.
And they were answering, yeah, you should penalize them. You should go to jail. Right. And it got to me, the very last one, after everybody in the room was like, oh, yeah, let's lunch them, take them to jail. And so I'm the only one that had a contrarian viewpoint. I said, look, guys, in fact, I didn't quote him, but Supreme Court Justice
not the recent one,
Scalia, he had a quote. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, I'd like to every long-haired sandal-wearing hippie, that represents this group of burning flags, I'd like to tear them up and, beat their butts, basically, and send them on their way. But freedom of speech is just that, freedom of speech. And so my answer was, you got to be careful, because one day the speech that you have for free may not be judged the same way you think it is
Today. Yes.
today. And so I
Really.
said, Jefferson said it best. In order for this thing to work, is we need more free speech. And I don't by any means support burning the flag. I think it's terrible. It's horrible.
Right.
I'd like to kick that guy's butt too, but it's his or her right to do that. Now, it's interesting. I think our current president has signed, maybe, I don't know if it's an executive order, something's in play where they're talking about some sort of
legalities.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, so back to
But
Karen,
it's also,
Phillies
if I look, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but if I look back at my calendar, I was just looking back at my calendar to when that
September 5th
debate was.
Oh, yeah.
That you're talking about. And I think that's the day your candidacy died.
That's the day I lost. That pinko's not against burning the flag. Actually,
I didn't want to bring that up, but
I almost got a standing ovation.
It was in my notes. Well, I thought you had the crowd all worked up.
Well,
for punishment.
They were, but then it's funny in that situation when you say what's right. Yeah. When you actually have the stones to stand up and say what's right, somehow, some way, there's this moral overtone that hits the room. It's like, oh, God, that guy's right. What a bastard. He's going to make me stand up for the right thing. So anyway,
you know what we did right? What time did we start tonight?
7.
It's been 5. You did?
I got it 7.
No way.
6:59.
Wow, really? All right, we're going strong. Hey, I want to stop this roll we're on. So we got from there then to I don't like the fact that getting fired. I don't like it all if you're on your personal account. But what I really dislike is the world going after these people personally. They attack them in public, essentially doing the, like you said, Scalia said, I'd like to, take them and thrash them but I don't, because but these people do it in a virtual way that it's really hurtful. You make a mistake in life that's caught on camera in this day and age, and it's horrendous what people do to you.
Well, I think the internet has provided. Every neighborhood had one of these people. Like when I was a kid, there was this woman, I won't say her last name, but her name was Shirley. And she was, that was the Karen of the day. And she was I say the people's pope, but she was the one that policed the neighborhood. She told you when you were doing something wrong or whatever.
Your car was parked on the street.
Yeah, she was just always up in your business. And so take that one person in a neighborhood of maybe 30 neighbors, and they were isolated. You knew who they were, and they were captured. Well, now that same person exists, but they have a platform, not your street, but every street in the nation, because of Facebook or Twitter or whatever. And so
go ahead.
Well, that's my philosophy about who Karen is. They've been around a long time. It's just now they have more of a voice.
I do think things would be a lot different if you had to go by your real name in the social media platforms. That's one of my things. I would love everybody to have to get a check mark that this is Dave Theus on Facebook, because I think you would get a lot less of this, because what is it? People live in glass houses, don't throw rocks, which as a kid I never got that until much later. I'm like,
why would a glass house?
Yeah, you got a glass house. And then I was trying to picture a glass.
Rocks.
I'm trying to picture a glass. Do they mean like a lot of windows, or what are we talking here? Like glass roof?
What kind of idiot would do that?
I think there'd be a lot less casting of stones in the world.
I agree, and I tell you, early on in Twitter, before it was purchased, became X, I would get out that they would. I had a blue check early on because of my candidacy, and I only had like 600 followers, so. It was almost comical. These guys would get on. Who the hell do you think you are? You only have 600 followers. You get a check, and you couldn't pay for the check. You had to legitimately get it, right? And so, but they would go underground and research me and find out he's just some 2-bit candidate running for some loser off. They would go off on you.
And, you mean U.S. Congress? That's a loser office.
Yeah, that one. But it was always the guy that didn't have his real name. He would have some stupid looking cartoon. For
Jack 115.
Yeah, and some lame name. So my comeback was, listen, loser, this is who I am. You put your face and name on the dollar and see how we can have this argument. But no,
Right.
they wouldn't do that.
Right. But
I do have one funny
so we
story,
come
though.
to that would be a nice rule or law to push, but there's no way the companies would enact that, you know.
Well, I just wish I had a lady. I think I've told this story before, but Sheila's telling me I got to get off this race. But the one time I was running, I was standing on Highway 17, State Highway 17, State Highway. It goes from Miami to Maine. Okay, so it's
Yeah.
one of those roads.
Yeah.
And so it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a great sidewalk because you're catching all the traffic coming back into Clay County. I'm standing out there with the now sheriff, believe it or not. She's next to me campaigning for her office, and I'm holding up my signs for my office. And we're
Were you
catching.
pushing her down?
Yeah, well, then no, because she had a gun.
Oh,
She was carrying.
didn't make sense.
Thousands of cars are going by, right? And
Yeah.
in fact, it's right down the street from an ambulance. So every once in a while, you catch. I mean, from the hospital, and every once in a while, you catch the
Yeah.
ambulance is going by, and then semi tractor trailers are, what do you call that? Braking,
Now you got me.
engine braking.
Yeah, but it was Jake brake.
Yeah, when they
Jake
come
brake.
in,
Yeah,
they that
yeah.
noise. So this lady that lives in the condo right up against the sidewalk comes out and says, "Hey, do you mind moving and putting your sign down?" And my last name's Theus, Theus. Well, if you
Right.
took a look at it quickly, it probably looked like Trump, Trump, right? Because it was bold letters.
I guess.
Same-
Was this
same amount of-
2016? You said
2020
2020.
when he was running against Biden the first time.
Okay.
So
And
I got the feeling she thought it said Trump, and I turned my sign around and said, "Look, that's not what it is, you know." And so she goes, "Well, listen, I work as a nurse. This is the height of COVID, right?
okay.
And so I work as a nurse on third shift. I'm trying to get some sleep, and you standing out here makes people honk their horns." And she goes, "Will you move?" And it's like 5 o'clock. This is primo time. I look at the
Yeah.
sheriff, and the sheriff's like, "You don't have to move."
Yeah. Well, you don't have to. There's a lot of that.
And so
Right.
I looked at her and I said, "Ma'am, I'm sorry. I appreciate that, but it's 5 o'clock. I'm running for an office. This is the perfect time to catch." And I can hardly think. And right then, a semi did that Jake or Jack break, whatever the thing is, and blew past me. And I said, "Am I responsible for that?" And then another ambulance went by, and I
Right.
said, "Am I responsible for that?" And she goes, "You son of a gun." So she got my name. Well, that night, I spent 3 hours blocking people on social media because that son of a gun doesn't like nurses and he's a horrible person. So she got all of her friends to just try to
Yeah.
obliterate me.
Well, she misrepresented the whole situation. Is what
Yeah,
it counted
at that
for.
point, I was like, I don't give a shit. I'm not moving. So pound sand, lady. You know, of course, that probably didn't help, but who cares?
No. It's like that probably didn't help him. That's
Here's
what I
some
said.
sensitivity training. Put a pillow over your head.
Right. Well, you know, and then the other piece of it is, and I'm not saying this was the you mentioned legally you didn't have to move, right? But sometimes it just makes sense. And I'm not saying this was but a lot of people stand behind well, you can't make me because it's not illegal. It's like, well,
No,
there's humanity in yes. Had you had a sign that said honk if you like Dave Theus and people were honking,
well,
and she asked you, right?
That was 15 signs up by the front.
Right.
The sad immature thing that I do now, though,
Right.
whenever I drive by, I lay on the horn.
She probably doesn't
5
even
years
live
later.
there. Right.
5 years later, ask Sheila. She goes, "Don't do it." I'm like, bullshit. Right on past. I blow it.
That's too funny.
Who's laughing now? I win.
yeah, exactly. That's too funny. Now,
62
now
years old.
if I'm ever riding in the car and all of a sudden you lay on the horn, I'm like, oh, is that where she lives?
All right, so back to Phillies Karen.
Right. This is where the argument it took us all but 20 minutes to get to where you're backing Phillies Karen and her assault on the gentleman.
So let's set this up. So when I first saw it, I saw the pop fly and I saw it land basically at this woman's feet, and she couldn't. The way I interpret it, she couldn't see it. It's it rolled around a little bit, and then I look over at Dad, and he's got this kind of little pompous, arrogant looking face on, and he saunters over, sees the ball, grabs it, and then he does this thing where he holds it up in the air like,
Who
oh, no.
else does it do that?
Well, I don't know if he, to me, it just felt like, oh, no, it's okay. I did this. It's not a problem. And then he hands it to the kid, and she sees it. And that moment, I'm like, I'm not sure that was fair. But then, as you've mentioned, it's all fun and games and, war. Or
my guess is it landed. I couldn't see if she actually made an attempt to catch it or what, but it obviously landed at her feet. And I'm guessing the way those parks are set up, it rolls to the row in front. Yeah. And that's where he walked. He was walking over because he kind of jogged over. So I don't know when he started his I
think they were on the same row. It just, there were no seats.
And he went down a row lower and started walking over. And I think he saw it on the ground and ran over and picked it up. And to her, in her mind, just because it landed in and around her vicinity, it belonged to her, or maybe even hit her. But what I hate, the only time I don't think it's proper to take the ball is when there's a kid standing there with his mitt, and he's got it up as high as he can, and he's about to catch the ball, and some goon steps in front and goes, "That's mine." That's a little like, And
well, okay. So before I want to cover that, but so the Karen lady, and in a split moment, before I have people with pitchforks and axe handles at my door, in a split moment, I said, she was robbed, in just a split second, and then I thought about it, and I'm watching him hand it to his son, which was, kind of, he didn't really do anything. It'd been one thing if he caught it. I like those guys that catch it and they don't spill their beer,
right.
Or they protect their son by catching it,
Or they hold their kid while they're catching it.
Yeah, those are heroes in my book. But this guy goes over and kind of steals the ball and gives it to his son. Now,
he got it in a very easy way. Yes.
Yeah, it was right. Yeah. Anyway, so in that moment, I felt just a nuance, and just a slightness of bad.
He's soft selling it now, people. He was
just
hard on it.
Bad for her, but then she shows up, and she goes full on Karen at that point, and goes, "You took my ball. You stole my ball." At that point,
my feet.
I wanted to shove it in her face. So why couldn't she see the kid?
Yeah,
and say, Karen, it's not that big a deal.
Right.
I didn't get it. Dad found it.
And I am not an innocent one that when I get mad, I get mad in a hurry. I go from 0 to 1,000 within a millisecond. And so I've made an ass of myself several times in the past. For the grace of God, no one caught it on camera to this day. But and I'm not very good at identifying when I'm about to go off either.
That's not good. That's like some sort of psychotic or something.
No, but it's usually around fairness, and that's generally what sets me off when I see something that's unfair or people are treating others unfairly. So I can't say I wouldn't have acted the same way had I thought the ball was mine. But
I didn't like the way I don't know.
He just tried to explain it, and he realized he wasn't going to win that argument, and so to end it,
the body language I was reading was he was saying, "Okay, you caught me."
No, he just said, "I went over there to pick it up." You can see him pointing, and then she keeps going at him. He's like, "I'm not going to win this argument, so I'm just going to give her the ball to get her out of my face."
Yeah.
So
isn't it interesting how each person reads something different, though, and that's the human experience.
Well, it's not just a human experience. Unfortunately, now it's back to what social media has brought out in all of us, and the news, for that matter, because the news cycle is so long that it used to be 1 hour a day, right? And once a day for an hour, right? Yeah, local and national. Well, now these cable networks have to fill 24 hours.
They're searching for stories.
It's not that they're searching for stories, but they opine. 90% of the day is filled up with suggesting what the person did and why they did it, or what the market's going to do, or why they voted this way, or why did this person do this, and they all. you can't believe they ask the person, why'd you do this? And they say it and they go, that's not right. You did it because, they go on for another 20 minutes about that. So, oh, I thought you were going to ask Alexa something. So yeah, that's a huge subject all bottled up into one event that occurred recently.
Yeah, I don't think anyone really walks out of that thing as a winner. She now
well, the boy did.
Well, yeah, but he did. That's right. Within minutes, he was. Right. What was it? The Miami team was taking care of him.
Gave him stuff, and then he met the Phillies player later that hit the ball, and he gave him a signed bat and a signed ball.
Yeah, no, he killed it.
Yeah, But I thought, hey, listen, one last thing for Miami to step up, do that right away, realizing the magnitude of what had just captured on TV was primo on their part.
Oh, they seized the moment. Right. Someone was down at the front office going, "Get your butt up there right now! This thing's going to go ballistic." Yeah, that was genius on their part. The good news from this stuff is the post-event memes.
Yes, I don't mind. They're not going after her personally online, and
no, but there was like a week of everybody was the Philly Karen, So
they put the face on her. They put everyone's face on her.
She probably couldn't go home for like the whole month of September. She's been.
She came out at one point to apologize or something. I don't know if it was really her, so I didn't really pay attention to it. Supposedly, she came out and was blubbering. Crying, but I don't know if that was AI. I don't know if that was AI generated or not. So I really didn't care enough to investigate any further.
It was pretty funny though.
So yes.
All right.
Yeah. Well, good show.
That just so the listeners know, that was a pre-show conversation that we got pretty heated about, and then realized much advice from the peanut gallery on my side.
You said peanut gallery. I was about to say the same thing.
This should be in the show. And we're like, shut up. Stop talking about it. Let's go to the show.
My father used to, you may know the peanut gallery, but don't give it away just yet. My father used to wrestle with me and my brother. And his line always was, a fight breaks out in the peanut gallery. And he and I was like, what's a peanut gallery? Back to the glass house thing. I'm like, peanut gallery. So later in life, he explained the peanut gallery to me. So are you familiar with the origins of the peanut gallery?
Well, I always took it as the people on the sidelines that were weighing in with, useless chatter. But is there a section of a stand called the peanut gallery?
No, it was an old show back when they used puppets for kids shows. I try to remember which one it was. I have to look it up. I'll look it up later.
Was it the woman that had the sock puppet?
No. It was way before that.
We got an executive here.
Ask her what show the peanut gallery started on.
Alexa, what is the origin of the phrase peanut gallery?
Oh, Lord. I told you how to ask
the phrase peanut gallery originated in 19th century vaudeville theaters, referring to the cheapest seats at the back where rowdy audiences often threw peanuts at performers they disliked. It first appeared in an 1867 review, and while it became associated with children on the Howdy Doody show, its roots lie in the disruptive behavior of working-class audiences in early entertainment venues.
The Howdy Doody show.
Howdy Doody. Yep. So the crowd, and I'm going to go out on a limb here to have to ask him. My father might have been part of the peanut gallery on the Howdy Doody show. But anyhow, so
my wife was on the Bozo the Clown show.
Oh, really? She still is.
No, she's married.
Married to him. Yes, she is.
No, was it Bozo the Clown or Mr. Rogers
or Noah?
She was on the ark. Sheila.
No, there was a guy out of Philly, Noah.
Oh, she's from Pittsburgh.
Same thing.
I can't remember. She was on Mr. Rogers.
Okay.
That guy was a highly decorated.
Dr. Phil as a kid.
No, you weren't. No. That's another story we can't talk about. But anyway, all right. So 28 minutes. Wow. Good
Going
show.
Strong. Well, you got one subject we buried for 28 minutes or went through it thoroughly. Well, I thought you had a story you need to share.
I do. Yeah, about the car.
Yeah.
So we bought a car. Pretty exciting. We've been out of the car business for a while though. And when you haven't bought a car, well, we had to buy. It's funny, we were a one car family for a long time. I don't know how I pulled this off,
And that was
but
with two young daughters, right?
yeah, I don't know how we did this. Well,
Were you
no,
still on the road?
no. We had multiple cars when we lived out west
Oh,
of
okay.
town.
All right.
But then when we moved back into town, we were a single car family for about, man, I want to say 5 or so years.
But you weren't working, right? Then?
No, I was working.
Okay.
I was going, yeah.
I,
The long story short is, um, my wife would catch do you know what a jitney is?
is that thing the guy pulls the carriage he pulls behind him?
Well, kind of. A jitney is a bus, a transportation form that has a direct certain route. And so,
Don't all buses have a direct certain route?
well, but it is okay. Hold on,
All right.
Alexa. What
Be
is the
careful how you
definition?
pronounce
A
this.
definition of a jitney?
I can't answer that.
A jitney is a small bus or car that follows a regular route, picking up and dropping off passengers for a small fare. The term originally referred to a 5-cent ride, and the word can also mean a nickel coin.
Yeah. So
How
it
is
has
that different from a bus?
no.
A
It
city
has
bus.
it has a. We're going there. That's all we're going. It doesn't stop along the way. It's a direct shot to where it's
Oh,
going.
okay. So it only has like an
Spit
airplane.
it out.
You'd be an airplane. I'm
An
having problems
airplane that
tonight.
doesn't fly. That's right. So, so
Meaning it has
it
an
would
origin and a destination, no stop in
okay.
between.
So her employer had many people that lived up where we live, and so they somehow coordinated with some other agency and got this thing lined up because carpooling. It was kind of like carpooling, but it was a jitney,
Okay.
and I think it cost $1
All right.
each way. So we did the math and figured out I can get her to the bus for $1. She can. This is how nice I was. She can ride the bus down and back for $2 for $10 a week. That the cost of gas, it was 35 miles each way.
Oh, okay.
So
All right.
it's anyway. So we did that for a while, like maybe 5 years, and then she got a promotion, and we said, this is stupid. You need to have your own car. You're going to be required to be down there more often. So she ended up buying a car, and then Sarah went off to college, and we had to buy a car for her. So now we're a 3-car family at that point.
Right.
So without sharing too many details, the car up in upstate where Sarah is got messed up. Everyone's fine. And so we had to replace it. So we were like, okay, wait a minute. I don't want to tag one in Pennsylvania. It's expensive. And, I don't want to title a car up there. So do we fly Sarah home, buy a car, and have her drive it back? That was the first round. And then Sheila said, screw this. I'm just going to drive my car and take it to Pittsburgh and give it to Sarah. So that's what we did. So then now we solved that problem, but we were without a car. Sheila needed a car. So
Put her on the jitney.
Well, the jitney's not going to work at this point. So it's still running though, I think. But anyway, we've been out of the car business for a while, and it's slightly changed. I don't know if you're familiar. By the way, we buy all of our cars used, about 2 years old. I had a long-standing run where I was paying cash for them, but they got kind of expensive lately. I don't know if you're aware of this.
Yeah, they've gone up in price.
Yeah,
as of late. Even used cars, for that matter.
Yeah, but so we didn't know the game, and I don't know if you know this, but they do this thing where they do this list pricing, and list pricing to me means you start at the top. List for me is the highball number,
the sticker number.
Yeah, and you work yourself down.
MSRP.
But now they call this internet list pricing, which is the low ball, and then they add everything to it, like there are dealer fees and all.
Oh.
It's like, and it took me about 2 rounds to figure out what they were doing. So it made no sense. Anyway, the long of it is, we were trying to get a car that would accommodate not only our needs but the needs of our grandchildren. So we needed a 3rd row seat,
okay,
which is a sizable vehicle. Know,
it's an SUV or a van, right?
Yeah, and it drives the price up a little bit. which, we were in that space, but it was pretty expensive. And so I don't know. Last night we found another car. It was beautiful. 18,000 miles on a 3-year-old car. I don't know who drives like that, but anyway, we found this
She
great
only drove
car.
it to the store once a
I
week.
guess it was at Publix, in the parking lot. The Lord provided it. I believe that we were just stressing out. I'm like, okay, you're going to have to come through on this one because I can't take any more of this. And we got a 5 o'clock appointment. The car was pulled up front. And the guy goes, "Do you want to take it home tonight?" I'm like, "Yes, yes. Where do we sign? Just give us a pen. We'll start signing
Right.
anything right now." And we did
There's a
some
wheel
hacks.
missing, Dave. I don't care.
Yeah. Does it start? Because we can limp along.
I'll put a jack under it. It'll roll home.
Well, it's a beautiful solution. Everything worked out stunningly.
Great.
And it turned out we bought it from the dealership that we bought one of the last cars, and it really worked out. But it was tiring.
Yes, it is.
It wasn't tiring because we went through this, knockdown and drag out trying to beat them up. It was just, I think there was a moment of stress that we got to find a car here, and we can't keep renting a car. We rented one for a week, then we extended it. I'm not going to pay $1,200 in a car rental, so we had to find a car.
Yeah. No, we're luckily we're trying to find one for my son. We think his car is in its final days.
Yeah, the missing sunroof.
Yeah, that's right. You remember that? And now it has a vacuum leak that is causing some other issues, and it's kind of annoying to drive. So it just revs on its own in idle because it's trying to find because of the vacuum leak. So you sit at a stoplight and it sounds like you're trying to get the guy next to you to race you, and so it's a little annoying to drive at this moment in time. So still getting them from A to Z for the most part, but so anyhow, we've started to search ourselves, and that is the best way to look, I think, is when you have that kind of time, because you can look for a great deal, out there. And so what we have done in the last couple, because we usually buy new, not this, probably never going forward again, because we always drove the cars into the ground. So we liked the warranties and everything that came for the first 2 or 3 years, and didn't have to pay for that. And so what we would do is decide what we want, and I could figure out all the options and everything else, and then I'd figure out what price I want to pay. And I would just call each dealership and say, talk to a salesperson, and I'd say, this is my price. If I come in there and it's a penny over, I'm walking. And they would generally, I'd show up and there it was, ready to go, all ready. And you just sign, like you said, unfortunately, you spend like 20 minutes signing stuff at those places. But nonetheless, get out there. But used cars a little different depending on who you're buying from. If you're on Facebook Marketplace or something.
Well, I tell you, the way to do it is cash. And I've said that it's not always available to everybody, especially with car prices the way they are, and if you don't save that way. But there's nothing from a negotiation standpoint better than the guy goes, "How you paying for it?" You go, "Cash."
Now, does cash, do you mean actual bills in your pocket?
Well, it's the guy last night told us that he had a fella come in and buy a $40,000 car, and he had 20s and 50s, and all the people were sitting around counting all the money to make sure it was right.
Yeah. No, guy gets home, he goes like, I got it $20 cheaper because he stiffed him on one bill.
Save $1.99. No, I usually buy them on a credit card.
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine that did that. A friend of mine had a American Express Platinum or whatever,
right?
And he would buy his cars on a credit card and get all the points. And then
I've heard of that too. Yeah, they've stopped that. That was a thing years ago. People would do, get 4 flights out of buying a car or something by.
Well, I think it kills because that fee. That got the dealer has to eat the fee.
Yeah, there was a person way back when that I figured it had to be frowned upon, but I didn't do it. When I was in my first career, I was traveling, and there was all these ways to get miles, with the airlines. And one of the ones, I don't know if it was, so I was on American Express points back then. And one of the ways you could do it is if you bought traveler's checks.
Yeah.
They would give you miles for every dollar of traveler's checks you bought. And what American Express didn't figure out was if you were I forget, a certain level, I was there. It wasn't very high, but they would let you buy traveler's checks for free. The American Express traveler's checks. So one guy, I think he was in Florida, right up the road, went out and bought hundreds of thousands in traveler's checks, cashed them, and paid them back with the traveler's checks, and he got like 300,000-400,000 in miles with the airline, and was getting all these free flights till finally the airline and American Express like, you can't do that. He goes, where's it say I can't do that? And so they had to put
that one.
Yeah, he ran that one for all it was worth. But that was a smart move. But
boy, that's a throwback, traveler's checks, man.
Yeah, that I used to use them. Did you ever use them?
Yeah, well, I must have, but I remember working at Sneaky Feet, and people would come up to pay for their shoes with traveler's checks. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Who would have thought? But anyway, yeah, cash. No, I would write a check.
That's not cash. It's a check and bounce, man.
Well, they have this thing where they can call the bank and say, does he have any money in there? And they could, or I'd just get a cashier's check.
Yeah, cashier's check. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we would finance. Generally, what we would do is finance with the dealership to get even more money off the car, and then you got to be careful.
Then go run and pay it off.
Yeah, pay it off on the first bill before it accrued any interest. But you got to be careful because some have an early payment penalty.
Yeah.
So you got to watch out for that. But as long as you check that and just never bag, we save another $500 or something financing through the dealership.
Yeah.
So,
anyways, at the end, it was a good experience, and she's happy. That's all that matters.
Were you a Muppets fan as a kid?
Yeah, only the guys in the theater.
Oh, the two old guys.
Men.
Yeah, it's you, all right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was a kid, and I liked those guys. And I got their jokes. I never really was into Big Bird or stuff down on the street. I didn't understand.
Big Bird annoyed me.
Yeah, I didn't like that guy.
Yeah, it was creepy, and he had that stupid make-believe friend at Snuffleupagus.
Yeah, I couldn't fathom there was a street like this. I was like, what kind of neighborhood are these people living in? I mean, this is weird. And then they said it was like, did they ever say it was in New York? It was always like a brownstone walk up.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like New York or something.
Yeah,
I think it originated in Philly.
I never wanted to go to New York because of Sesame Street.
You were afraid a Big Bird was going to come out?
It was just like, that's a goofy neighborhood, man.
Or Snuffleupagus is going to get you.
The guy in the garbage can,
Oscar the Grouch.
Yeah, I kind of liked Oscar.
Yeah, he figures. All the grumpy ones you like. Well, it's Jim Henson's birthday today, if he were still with us. So, I like the Muppet Show. I thought, and that's what the old men were on, was the Muppet Show, not Sesame Street.
Yeah, that was always like a Christmas or something that came on or whatever. I don't know. I never understood Henson. I never understood how a grown man could have all these
millions with
the money
I don't
part,
know, Dave.
The money part came later. I just didn't understand his creativity and what I don't know. I couldn't get my head around this guy's a grown man, he's playing with dolls,
Yeah.
And then these were weird dolls. Some of them were bizarre. So I couldn't tell he was on drugs or something.
No, I'm sure he was. He was a product of the 60s for sure.
Yeah.
So,
but then Disney bought it. And then it was because it was always PBS, right? PBS had it forever.
Yep.
And so I just figured it's some lame-o show that PBS picked up, but then it became mainstream. I don't know. I
had a thought, and you made me forget it. I was trying to think of other Animal was good, and I
liked Miss Piggy.
Oh, I hated Miss Piggy. She was getting in the way.
She kind of grew on me a little bit.
Oh,
maybe that's why. Lord, I shouldn't say that. My taste in women. I like them a little,
little zip and zap,
little bacon. Anyway, I do have a funny thing a kid said today.
Well, you got to hurry up because we only
I
got
know.
3 minutes.
And I don't talk much about my job because of the nature of it, but this was
Right.
kind of cute and funny. You remember that show, What Kids Say, the funny things kids say, or whatever it
The
was?
darndest things kids
Yeah.
say, or something like that.
So we're
Yes.
talking about,
Speaking of people
yeah.
excised into
So we're talking about, what are we talking about today? I told the story about Cut the Hedge. I don't know if you know this one, but I can be real quick here. I know I got a minute left. But the Cut the Hedge. We lived on a corner of a street, and we had this 200-foot viburnum hedge down the side of our house. And Dad planted it because it was, viburnum. It would grow tall enough and
Right.
thick to make a sound barrier. But on Saturday mornings, he said, once I got old enough, he goes, Dave, it's your turn. You're going to have to cut the hedge. And he says, I'll make you a deal. You can, all my kids' friends were watching cartoons and stuff, but you can do that, but you got to get the hedge cut first. And so it was two things. He was teaching me how to do the hedge, but he was also teaching me about how to prioritize and get jobs done. Well, the first Saturday, of course, I kicked the dirt and threw the hedge clippers and pissed and moaned and never got it cut. And so he goes, that's fine because we got Sunday and you can wait till Sunday. And after church, you can go out there and cut the hedge. Well, it went on for about 2 weeks. And then finally, I got mad at myself, or he got mad at me, or whatever.
Yeah, I was going to say, you sure it went that
Yeah,
direction?
and I just put my head down and said, I want to go do this stuff with my friends. And what I learned was if I just put my head down, go to work, I can get a lot of stuff done before I realized that half the hedge was cut. And
Right.
then I'm like, dude, I'm almost done. Let's just do this again. So I developed this mantra, and I still use it today. Have you ever read the book Eat the Big Frogs First?
I've barely read any books, Dave.
That's
So
probably true. But there's this management thing about getting the big stuff out of the way first. It's called, you should look it up. It's the same genre of the Who Moved My Cheese. You ever read that one? Your people give you that one? You're an MBA and you haven't read Who Moved My Cheese?
No.
All right. Well, for our listeners, pick up the book Eat the Big Frogs First. It talks about prioritizing those things and not procrastinating. And so my mantra was cut the hedge. And I use it today. Like there's sometimes I'm supposed to do something. I want to go have a cigar. I want to go do something that Dave wants to do. But in that moment, I say to myself, cut the hedge. Just
my mantra is cut the cheese.
Yeah. So anyway, so I'm telling this story about me being 11 or 12 years old, and this kid raises his hand. He goes, Mr. Theus, did you have an iPhone when you were a kid? And I'm like, iPhone? He goes, yeah, an iPhone. I'm like, you mean from Apple? And I said, no, Apple didn't even exist. Not even phones. When I was a kid, there was not even an Apple computer. It didn't come, later. And he goes, huh? And his face is all twisted up. He's trying to figure out how old I am. And he goes, well, did you guys have electricity when you were a kid?
You went totally the opposite direction.
Yeah. And I looked at him and said, how old do you think I am? And he goes,
Right.
well, you didn't have a phone. And I said, well, we had phones. We didn't have iPhones. He goes, Alexander Graham Bell, you had a phone? And I'm like, okay. So I couldn't tell if he was trying to make fun of me or something or not. I just looked at him with a, scoured face.
Goat.
Yeah. And I said, yeah, we had electricity, but we had to play with chisels and stones in the backyard.
All right, before you say goodbye, don't forget we have to miss a week next week for legitimate reasons. I will be out of market and unable to attend remotely.
You gonna be on the moon or something? Space shuttle?
I'm gonna be. Well, I got things to do, Dave. Places to go.
You're
People
busy,
see.
you're a pretty big guy.
Yeah.
What
If you guys want to start
on?
subscribing more and doing more stuff with us, maybe I wouldn't have to go to work every day. I could just talk and blab with Dave.
Oh, think of the fun that would be.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I want to say goodnight.
Yeah, let's say goodnight. Yeah. Good night.
Good night.